Hello!
Hi everyone!
Welcome back to our channel, and today we have a really special video. It's not about like something we want to share personally, but something we've witnessed since we've been in Cambodia, and that it's alarming, but at the same time I just want to inform traveler.
Would you say you want to raise in awareness?
Exactly. Funny name, but it makes sense when you
To play on words?
play on words, but at the same time it resonates with the message we want to share. So the following video, it's not about wisdom or relating or spirituality. It's more about what's happening in Cambodia right now. Now we're in Koh Rong, which is a small island, probably one of the most famous islands for tourists in the south of Cambodia. And 2 days ago we drove around for the first time throughout the whole island, and something crazy that we just observed is that where we stay, which is the main pier, Koh Rong, that's where like most of the main pier is, most of the accommodation, most of the restaurants, so it's like the downtown of the island, is only maybe 100 to 150 meter wide from the beach, and it's concrete, but it's not linked to the left or to the right to anything.
Of the roads. There's roads on the left and the right, and they're not linked.
The road in downtown stop for 100 or 150 meter, and after that there's just sand and beach on the left side, and then you can access another road, but you have to drive on shitty sand for maybe 100 or 150 meter more before you reach the concrete, and then you have like a really beautiful paved street road for like, I don't know, we went to zigzag. We like to explore. We always do a thing that when we go explore, we don't know where we want to go. One is driving and the other one say left or right, and then we just take random road. And I think from the map I saw and wherever we went, I think we covered, 2 days ago, we covered at least 75% of all the paved road that was on the island so far.
A lot of driving.
So we did a solid 40 kilometer in a small island that's maybe 10-15 kilometer long at the most. So there's a lot of zigzag that we came around a couple of times, and most of those roads bring to pretty much nowhere. There's no business, there's like few resorts along the way, but there's seldom compared to like the hub that's in Koh Rong, the downtown of the island where we're staying. And so I talked when she was, I think you were busy elsewhere, and I talked with the local and I say, how come there's so much road bringing nowhere and it's not connected anyhow to the hub of Koh Rong? And he told me, oh, it's the Chinese who are investing in the roads. Like, oh, really? And it's like, what's the deal? It's like the Chinese, whoever investor are building the road, were mandated to build a road in exchange of free land. And they say, what do they gonna invest? And apparently it's to build, which something I've never heard before, a 7-star casino.
7, not 5, not 6, 7.
And we looked online what it is, like what's a 7-star casino entitled, and it's a casino, an exclusive casino for members only at a really high end, and it will have its own private airport. So we drive along and all we could see is like shaved land. So I don't know who came to Koh Rong back in the old days, but it's transforming quickly. So if you've never been, or you've been and you would like to experience it for what it is right now before it get overbuilt, then it's the time, because I don't know how much hectares that was shaved, but it was huge. We drive around
Almost the whole thing we drove. You drive with nature on one side, and then the other side fully shaved and piles of like burnt trees, freshly burnt.
There are, for right now, the road is built, but they're just in the process of flattening the land, I guess, to build the airport and all the casino, which haven't started yet. So knowing construction, I work in construction for a decade. I think that kind of project, we're talking to completion a minimum of 5 years more. But knowing Chinese, who has the reputation to be the fastest builder in the world, I wouldn't be surprised if a like big fancy stuff will pop out in the next 2-3 years. So yeah, it was shocking. And I'm 100% sure, like every other island or little paradise that exists in Southeast Asia, have changed a lot in the last 10 years, even the last 5 years. I have a few friends who came here before and told me it was a paradise. There was a community, like people who would stay here long term, and somehow the community shrinked a lot. And so what
Especially after COVID.
Yes, COVID didn't make it easy for foreigners to stay in Cambodia, and talking to the local, they've suffered a lot. It was a really difficult time for them. I guess all throughout Southeast Asia. But what's different here, it's not related necessarily with COVID. So to put in context, before I came here, we're in Vietnam, driving with the motorbike we just bought in Hanoi all the way to the south in Ho Chi Minh City. And I don't know, I probably talked about it to my family, and my dad, who I love and who love me but never communicate with me through email or messages usually, send me like 6 messages to not come in Cambodia, telling me that it was dangerous, that people were getting kidnapped, and then I kind of worry a little bit. But to be honest, I've been to over 40-45 countries, and half of them you warn me against, because you know everything about everywhere, and if there was one issue at one point in history about the single country, then it would make a big deal that it was dangerous. And obviously, even if there's sometimes places where I wouldn't recommend for other people, personally at the moment where I went, most of the time I feel super safe or relatively safe, to not enough for me to set me back from my travel. And so when he told me that, my mom worried, obviously. She was more relaxed, but she worried. So I made some research online, and it's true that there's people who've been kidnapped, but they're all Chinese. And I didn't give it a second thought when I saw that. I just say, okay, that has nothing to do with tourists or foreigner. Even if I look Asian, most people wouldn't label me as a Chinese, I guess. And I just thought that because I know that there's a lot of money coming from Chinese investor, and because Cambodia, mainly Phnom Penh, which is the capital, is really well westernized and really developed, like it is in Vietnam, which is surprising because we've been living in Thailand for a few years, and I almost felt that for some reason Thailand would be economically more advanced, but it felt the opposite. I felt that there was more modernity in Vietnam and Cambodia. And so to connect with the fear of my dad, I started looking online this morning, and it's actually connected. I don't know what's the whole deal, but Chinese investors are always looking for virgin land to expand their branch and like just invest money. There's so much money in China that they don't know what to do, and they're trying to build in Sihanoukville, which is the big city on mainland, the closest to where we are now in Koh Rong, and they're building another Macau, which is like the Las Vegas of Asia, and with tons of casino. So there's a lot, I don't know if it's a laundering money or just legal casino. And what happened is that I guess like most country, before that there was always some illegal gambling, and the Chinese investor came, establish a formal casino, and I don't know if they put pressure into the government or the government wanted to act on illegal gambling, but just recently the Cambodian government created a law to make illegal gambling, and so it was against the law to have like
to make illegal gambling illegal.
Correct. It's redundant, but it's exactly that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it was pressured indirectly from the Chinese investor who wanted to monopolize gambling, but because of this, because those illegal gambling were controlled by gangs and mafia, they start kidnapping random high-profile Chinese, and I don't know if they were investors, but in the headline you can look on Google. They kidnapped high-profile Chinese citizen, and they are usually kidnapped in the capital and brought in, hidden in somewhere in Sihanoukville. And I don't know if it's another way for them to make money from the money they lost from the gambling business that they used to control, or to scare the Chinese investor. But
maybe both.
Yeah, but it's creating a backlash in Chinese social media, and obviously affecting Chinese tourists. But at the same time, even if kidnapping is definitely not the way to go, I kind of understand this place. For the people never been to Koh Rong, it's a beautiful kind of pristine island, and still until now, where nature is prevalent. And to bring something like a 7-star casino with its own airport would totally disrupt the natural ecosystem and even the natural, more low-profile economy of the island. And I asked the locals, like, what do you think about that? Because personally, if I dislike the way a place changed, it's just a preference. But at the end of the day, is how do locals feel about this transformation?
Their land,
and there's a lot of
lifestyle.
small business economy that's been there for probably a few decades since the Khmer Rouge was put down, and they told me they don't like it. So those, they are either directly or indirectly supporting the resistance, because yeah, it's a transformation that doesn't happen organically or in harmony with the current system or the current economy or the current culture. It's forceful, and it forced the locals who've been here for longer to adapt themselves in a way that somehow feel uncomfortable to them. And probably if it destroys too much of the habitat of the peacefulness of why people come here, it will also disrupt the business and the economy of the people who always been there. So a few people will benefit from this exchange, usually the rich.
Fully change the business of the island because of the influx of what people are coming here looking for. For instance, if you have a certain amount of money, you can invest in this like nicer accommodation to offer to people. But if you don't have that investment, and all the tourists that are now coming in are looking for high level accommodation, and you didn't have a jump from like lower class to middle class, you don't have the ability to adapt with the changing of like your homeland.
And for the people who doesn't know, so far there's a few bungalows that are in concrete with AC, but it's still a minority. Most bungalows are wood bungalow where we're staying, and it's like it's on the high, it's more pricey because it's isolated. It takes a solid hour in speedboat to come here.
Importing everything.
Everything is imported, and so everything is on the hill, so it's difficult to build. So the price, like in Thailand, the same bungalow that we have now, which costs on booking.com maybe $20 a night on low season, would in Thailand cost $5 to $7 or maybe $10 at the most. So everything's more expensive because it's isolated and it's not well developed. And if overnight or in the span of 2 years, there's like high-end clients that are coming to the island to go to those really fancy accommodation and casino. And at the same time, it would disrupt, because people, I don't feel that personally I would want to come here if there's a giant fancy casino and plane flying over. Maybe I think it will affect the normal tourists that are usually coming to the island. If this is the case, then the economy that was already there where we're staying will be affected negatively, and that's somehow a crime, or at least yeah, I have already fear for those small businesses which are thriving right now. We're relatively at low season, and they're doing relatively well for post-COVID economy, and they're expecting to do better in the coming high season that's coming in December, January. And I wish them the best. I mean, COVID was hard for everyone, and then if this is coming over in the span of the next 2 or 3 years, 5 years, then I hope they can somehow adapt themselves. But Yeah, I don't know. I'm really, for us is my, for me is my, no, for us is our first time in Cambodia, and it's our first time here.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful, even if it changed a lot in the last 10 years, I'm grateful to have known it as it is now, then, and kind of fearful of what it can become.
Because we're kind of at this like, this crossroads as like a society. We're in this place of like economically expanding, like, you know, wanting to, what can we do with cities, where can we expand? Businesses have kind of laid the roots in, and then they're looking for this, the next thing and the next thing, and we're running out of virgin land.
Gentrification is everywhere, even where we live in the south of Thailand. It's not like when I was there maybe 6 years ago. For the first 2 years I stayed in bamboo bungalow, the cheapest that I could find on the island, which cost me 4,000 baht a month, which is I think $120 US. No, I would usually, because high season everything goes up, so I would stay from the end of high season, I would say 6 months. I would say the whole low season actually,
yeah,
until the beginning of the rainy season. And yeah, now I have my place there, so I'm lucky. And I have nothing against a rise in comfort and development. The local are definitely benefiting from this, most of the local, but the growth has to happen organically and slowly enough for the majority to be able to evolve. If not, it creates a huge disparity in wealth, and inequality is rising, and that's when crime and other negative effects of an unequal society happen. And I just hope, I mean, it's not that I'm hoping, I just
raising awareness.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. And because it matters for the growth of our channel, if you did like the video, please
like, subscribe, and comment down below any suggestions that you have, because we love connecting with you, or any topics you'd like us to talk about.
And if you're interested to follow us on the individual level, we both have our individual channel. Mine is here and it's here. Ciao!
Bye.